Starting on page 18. Mr. Woodlawn laughed. "Well," he said, "that's about the size of it, although that wasn't my intention when I started. As a compliment to the chief of the tribe, when I came here to install the mill, I replaced the old flintlock on his gun with the spring lock. The old fellow was delighted. I thought that was the end of the affair, but the next day, when I went to the mill, there was the chief waiting for me with his whole tribe, and every man of them had brought his flintlock gun to have a spring lock put on it. It kept me busy for a week, but the mill company was glad to pay for the locks to ensure the Indians' friendship. We've never regretted it, and I don't think we shall have cause to later." The children loved this familiar story, and were sorry when the conversation drifted on to other things. But when Mr. Tanner began to recount his travels and adventures since the last night he had spent under their roof, they were once more enthralled. In those days the circuit riders, or traveling ministers, served large territories, riding from place to place and holding services in cabins or schoolhouses. Mr. Tanner was one of these, weathered by sun and rain and snow. He rode from day to day over a parish which covered most of the western Wisconsin. Weddings and christenings were put off until his arrival, and sometimes he found new-made graves awaiting his benediction. The settlers always opened their homes to him, and it was a great occasion when they could entertain the circuit rider. Everyone stood in awe of him. He was not only a man of God, but who could wrestle in spiritual battle with angels and spirits of evil. But it was said that there was not a man on his circuit who could show a strength of muscle equal to his. When in his deep voice he spoke of punishment for sinners, the little schoolhouse seemed to be filled with the crackling roar of the fires of hell. But when he sat with the Woodlawns at their table, all his sternness fell away. It was perhaps the only place on his circuit where he felt entirely at home. Their home, the largest in the neighborhood, was the one expected to offer him hospitality. But there was another reason why he always stayed there. Mr. Tanner was from Boston, too. He loved the beans and brown bread on Saturday night, and the familiar talk of home. For him, as for Mrs. Woodlawn, the real beauty and meaning of life centered in the churches, the bookshops, and the lecture rooms of Boston. They shared their bits of news and gossip and recalled old scenes and events as homesick people love to do. Mr. Woodlawn never heard them with the quiet amusement. He was entirely happy on the outskirts of civilization. Here he could breathe freely as he had done in the narrow streets of Boston. His own home had been in England, but he did not speak of the past. The children, all except Clara, who remembered and loved Boston, listened with wide eyes of astonishment, for how could anyone prefer Boston to this enchanting place of adventure, of lake and river, prairie and forest? When the meal was finished, the circuit rider rose and went to his saddlebags, which he had left on the back porch. He dusted them carelessly and opened one. He took out his first well-worn Bible for the family prayers, which were never forgotten when Mr. Tanner spent the night. Then he took out something else which suddenly made Caddie's eyes sparkle with interest. She forgot her embarrassment and came to stand beside him. It was a small clock. "Woodlawn," said the minister, "I've brought you something to repair for me. There is not a soul on the circuit who knows how to tinker a clock as you do." Mr. Woodlawn smiled. His workshop was already full of clocks, which people had brought to him from miles around. When there was time from his farm and his duties as master mechanic at the mill, he took the neighbors' clocks apart and oiled, mended, or refitted parts to them. He was the only man in that part of the country who could do it. And although he liked the work well enough, it was sometimes irksome to have so much of it to do. But Caddie never tired of seeing new clocks come in. She liked to see them wag their pendulums and hear their busy ticking. Her eager fingers itched to help her father take them apart and set them in motion once again. "What's wrong with it?" she asked. The circuit rider hesitated. He knew all about horses and ways of